The afternoon sun had begun its slow descent, casting long shadows across the living room. I moved to the window again, watching the quiet street, listening to the faint hum of life outside, feeling the weight of what had just occurred. Derek was gone for now, but the tension he left behind lingered, thick and suffocating. Lena sat on the sofa, legs tucked beneath her, staring at the floor as if the battle we had just fought was both hers and mine. "Are you okay?" I asked softly, lowering myself onto the armchair opposite her. She didn't look up immediately. I waited, letting the silence stretch because sometimes silence speaks louder than words. I think so," she whispered finally. Her voice was small but determined. "I've never seen him like that before, Mom. You were terrifying, in a good way." I allowed myself a small, almost imperceptible smile. "Terrifying," I repeated, amusement and pride threading through my tone. "That's one way to put it." She laughed lightly, a fragile sound that seemed to ease the tension in the room. "I mean, you were calm, in control. I don't think he expected that. He's used to pushing you around, getting what he wants. Today, you didn't give him an inch." "I never have," I said quietly. Sometimes it takes the right moment for people to see it." Lena nodded, understanding more than she could say. She had grown up in the middle of storms, both literal and metaphorical, always the observer, the bridge, the quiet protector of those she loved. Today, she had finally stepped onto my side, no longer just the silent witness. The front door clicked. I turned sharply, Roman stepping back into the room. "Everything went as planned," he said. His tone was professional, but there was a hint of approval beneath it. "Derek will contest it, perhaps, but the papers are airtight. You've set the stage perfectly." I nodded, taking a deep breath. "Thank you, Roman. I didn't just want the law on my side, I wanted presence, authority, and you provided that." He inclined his head, a subtle gesture of respect. "It's been my honor, Mrs. Everson. Few people handle confrontation with such precision." Once he left, Lena and I were alone again. The room felt different now, charged, alive, yet safe. I walked slowly to the kitchen counter, pouring a glass of water, letting the cool liquid soothe my dry throat. She followed, leaning against the counter. "Mom," she began hesitantly, "do you think he'll come back, try to make it worse?" I turned to her, eyes steady. "Maybe, but it won't matter. The law and our resolve will hold. He's powerless without respect, without authority, and today we reminded him of both." She nodded, but worry still lingered in her eyes. "It's just he's always been unpredictable." "That's true," I said softly, moving closer. "Unpredictability can be dangerous, but it's also a reminder that control matters, and control we have." The silence returned, but this time it was lighter, almost comforting. I realized something important. This was more than about eviction or legal documents. This was about establishing boundaries, about taking back the spaces and relationships that had been eroded over time. It was about showing Lena and even Derek indirectly that strength wasn't loud or violent, it was measured, deliberate, patient. The phone buzzed on the counter. I ignored it at first, letting the moment linger. When I finally picked it up, a text message from an unknown number appeared. "You think this ends here? You're mistaken." I frowned but didn't react immediately. Lena's eyes followed mine. "It's probably him," she whispered. "Perhaps," I said, calm but alert. "But a message, a threat, it changes nothing. We've set our boundaries, the law is on our side, and we are ready." She exhaled slowly, the tension in her shoulders easing. "You make it sound almost easy." "Easy isn't the word," I said. "Strategic, deliberate, measured, that's the difference. Anyone can shout and rage, but few can act with precision. That's why the world listens when we do." For a moment, we sat in quiet reflection, the fading sunlight painting the walls in amber and rose. Outside, life went on. But inside, a new chapter had begun, one where respect and authority were no longer optional, and where patience and strategy mattered more than impulsive anger. I rose, moving to the window again. Derek's truck was gone from the street, replaced by the ordinary rhythm of daily life. A child's bicycle clattering down the pavement, neighbors walking dogs, distant traffic. But I knew this calm was temporary. Storms had a way of returning. Yet now I felt ready. Armed with law, strategy, and quiet determination, I could face whatever came next. Turning back to Lena, I said firmly, "We did well today, but tomorrow we stay vigilant. Strength isn't a single act, it's continuous. And we will continue together." She smiled then, small but real, and I knew she understood. Whatever storms lay ahead, we would face them as one, united, unyielding, and unstoppable. The day closed gently, the first chapter of our struggle complete, yet the story far from over. And in that quiet, sun-drenched room, I realized something profound. Control, respect, and authority were not taken, they were earned, maintained, and defended. And today, we had earned ours. The morning light filtered through the half-open blinds, painting stripes across the living room floor. I sat at the table, coffee untouched, eyes fixed on the envelope in front of me. It wasn't ordinary mail, it carried a weight that made the room feel smaller, heavier. Lena moved around quietly, making breakfast, her movements careful, almost ritualistic. The air between us was charged, the calm from yesterday's confrontation lingering but fragile, like frost that could melt with the wrong touch. "Mom," she said softly, placing a plate in front of me, "I know you don't want to see it yet, but—" Her voice trailed off as she glanced at the envelope. I didn't move. "Go on," I said. "It's from him," she murmured. "Derek, or at least someone working for him. He says he wants to negotiate terms." I picked up the envelope, feeling the paper's texture, the deliberate weight. The handwriting was familiar, arrogant in its neatness. Derek liked to remind people of his presence through the smallest details, the pen, the signature, the deliberate formatting. I exhaled slowly, letting the tension settle before opening it. The message inside was short, direct, and dripping with condescension. "You think yesterday was a victory? Think again. This is only the beginning. Prepare yourself." I set the note down without a word. Lena watched me closely, sensing the storm brewing beneath my calm exterior. I stood, walking toward the window, hands clasped behind my back, letting the morning light warm my shoulders while I calculated my next move. "You're not upset?" she asked cautiously. "Calm, yes," I said. "Upset doesn't accomplish anything. Reaction is not strategy. Planning is." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Planning against him, Mom, he's unpredictable. He won't play by the rules." "Exactly," I replied. "Which is why we must anticipate every move, every bluff, every attempt to unsettle us. Predictability is dangerous when someone thrives on chaos. That's why strategy matters more than fury." The kettle whistled. I poured a cup of tea, hands steady. Lena lingered in the doorway, hesitant to interrupt but unable to stay away. I gestured for her to sit beside me. "We have allies," I said. "People who understand the game, who know how to anticipate his moves. We are not alone, and that knowledge gives us power." She nodded slowly, absorbing my words. "It still scares me," she admitted. "Even with the law, even with everyone else, he has this presence, like he can bend reality to his will." "Presence can intimidate," I said, "but it can also be broken down, through preparation, evidence, and patience. Derek thrives on fear because it is easy for him, but fear doesn't govern us. Knowledge does, control does." The day moved forward, each hour marked by small, deliberate actions. Checking files, reviewing past interactions, organizing evidence, contacting advisors. Derek's threat hung over us, but we refused to let it dictate our rhythm. In that room, under the soft hum of the ceiling fan, Lena and I created an unspoken covenant of vigilance and resolve. By late afternoon, I found myself walking the perimeter of the property, observing everything as though seeing it for the first time. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of distant rain and urban life. Cars moved steadily along the street, neighbors waved lazily to each other, unaware of the quiet battle being waged inside these walls. But I wasn't unaware, I never was. Every shadow, every movement, every pattern mattered. Derek had underestimated me once. I would not allow it again. Lena joined me outside, standing silently, her hands tucked into her coat pockets. "Do you think he'll escalate?" she asked. "Perhaps," I said. "But escalation is predictable. It's a language of fear and intimidation. We speak a different language: strategy, patience, control. We anticipate. We act. And we respond, not react." She looked up at me, admiration and fear mingling in her gaze. "You make it sound like chess." "Exactly," I said with a small, tight smile. "Life is a board, people are pieces, and every move has consequence. Some play for ego, others play for survival. We play for both, without losing our own ground." The sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in muted shades of amber and violet. Derek's note sat on the kitchen counter, a silent reminder of the tension lingering in our lives. But for the first time, I didn't feel powerless. We had prepared, planned, and positioned ourselves. The storm might come, but we would meet it with precision and poise. Tomorrow, I said, voice steady, we take the next step, not out of anger, not out of fear, out of certainty. We decide the terms of engagement. Lena nodded. And together, yes, I said, together, always. The evening closed gently, the house quiet except for the distant murmur of the city. Shadows lengthened, and the world outside seemed indifferent to the battles waged within these walls. Yet within us, a quiet power had taken root, control, strategy, and unwavering resolve. And with it, we would face whatever came next, derrick, chaos, or threat, unshaken, unbroken, unstoppable. The story isn't over yet. Comment next part now and make sure to like, subscribe, and share.